$75,000 a year. You finally got the job. You finally crossed the line that was supposed to change everything. And yet, here you are, 2 weeks before payday, staring at your banking app in a Walgreens parking lot, doing the math on whether you can afford both an oil change and groceries this week. You make more money than your parents did at your age. You make more than the median American household. And somehow, you are still broke. Not, I can't buy a yacht, broke. Real broke. I need to float this electric bill until Friday broke. Here's the thing. This isn't a coincidence, and you're not bad with money. You walked into a trap that was engineered long before you ever cashed that first check. And in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how the trap works, who built it, and more importantly, the specific ways to dismantle it before it eats another year of your life. My name is John, and I spend a genuinely unreasonable amount of time thinking about why smart, hardworking people still feel poor. If you're someone who looked at their salary and thought, I should be further ahead by now, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you out. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. This is education, and your decisions are your own. Okay, let's start with the lie. The big one. The number itself, $75,000. Say it out loud and it sounds like freedom. It sounds like vacations and savings accounts and sleeping through the night without that low-grade financial anxiety humming in the back of your skull. And there's a reason it sounds that way. Back in 2010, 2 Nobel Prize-winning researchers, Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton, published a study that basically told the entire world that $75,000 a year is the magic number. Earn that, and your day-to-day happiness maxes out. More money after that? Doesn't really make you feel better. That study became gospel. It got quoted in every career advice article, every salary negotiation blog, every graduation speech from your uncle who sells insurance. $75,000 became the finish line for an entire generation of workers who just wanted to stop worrying. The problem? That study is 16 years old now, and $75,000 in 2010 is roughly $108,000 in today's money when you adjust for inflation. So when people hear 75K and think, I should feel comfortable, they're chasing a number that lost its meaning over a decade ago. The goalposts didn't just move, they packed up and relocated to a different zip code. Nobody sent you the memo. But here's where it gets worse. In 2023, one of the original researchers actually revisited the question with a Wharton professor named Matthew Killingsworth. And what they found kind of dismantled the original claim entirely. For about 80% of people, happiness keeps climbing well past 75K. It doesn't plateau, it keeps going. The only group where it did flatten out was the unhappiest 20%. And for them, it plateaued closer to $100,000. So the famous 75K ceiling? It was being dragged down by the people who were already struggling emotionally. For everyone else, the ceiling never existed. It was a statistical artifact that got turned into a cultural commandment. And yet, here we are. An entire generation built their financial expectations around a misquoted, outdated, inflation-eaten number. You hit 75K and expected to feel something. Relief, stability, peace. Instead, you get the same anxiety with a slightly nicer apartment. That's trap number 1, the phantom finish line. And I haven't even gotten to the money yet. Let's talk about what $75,000 actually looks like when it hits your bank account. Because I think this is the part that genuinely shocks people when they see it written out for the first time. You earn 75K gross? Sounds great. But then the government shows up. Federal income tax on a single filer with the standard deduction, about $8,650. Social Security and Medicare, another $5,738. State income tax, depending on where you live, let's say $3,000 to $750 for a mid-range state. By the time all of that is done, you're taking home roughly $57,000 to $58,000 a year. That's about $4,800 a month. Already feels different, doesn't it? $75,000 turned into $4,800 before you bought a single thing. You lost almost a quarter of your salary, 23 to 24%, just for the privilege of earning it. And now you've got to build an entire life on what's left. So let's spend it. And I want to introduce you to 2 people. Let's call them Derek and Priya, both 29 years old, both earning $75,000 a year, both living in mid-sized American cities, not New York, not San Francisco, just normal towns with normal costs. And their lives look absolutely nothing alike. Derek got the raise 8 months ago. He was making $58K, and when he got bumped to $75K, he did what most people do. He celebrated. And honestly, who could blame him? He worked hard for that promotion, so he moved into a nicer place, newer building, better neighborhood, in-unit laundry, and went out $150 a month. traded his 2018 Civic for a lease on a 2025 Mazda CX-50 because his buddy said the Civic looked like a college car. $520 a month plus insurance. Updated his wardrobe because you have to look the part. Added a gym membership with the sauna and the cold plunge, signed up for a meal kit subscription, and upgraded to the premium tier on basically every streaming service he owns. He didn't do anything crazy. He didn't buy a boat. He didn't take out a personal loan for a vacation. He just adjusted. He brought his lifestyle up to match the number he thought he deserved. And here's what Derek's month looks like on paper. Rent, $1,950. Car payment plus insurance plus gas, $830. Groceries and dining out, $550. Student loans, $320. Utilities, phone, internet, $380. Subscriptions, and this is streaming, gym, apps, cloud storage, the meal kit, the whole stack, $260. Health insurance copays and prescriptions, $180. Minimum credit card payments on about $7,800 in revolving debt at 24.7% APR, $220. Add it all up, and Derek is spending roughly $4,609 a month. His take home is $4,800. That leaves him $110. $110 of breathing room, one flat tire, one urgent care visit, one, hey, it's Jake's birthday, we're all going to dinner. And Derek is in the red. He's not buying avocado toast with reckless abandon. He's not irresponsible. He's drowning in normal. And here's the part about Derek's situation that keeps me up at night. That $7,800 in credit card debt? At a 24.7% APR, if Derek only makes the minimum payment, which is all he can afford right now, it will take him roughly 25 years to pay it off. And he'll pay over $15,000 in interest alone. That means Derek will pay nearly double the original balance, just in interest, on purchases he probably can't even remember making. The credit card wasn't a lifeline. It was a second trap inside the first one. He used it to fill the gap his salary couldn't cover, and now the interest is eating him alive. Quietly, automatically, every single month. Total U.S. credit card debt just hit $1.21 trillion. That's not a personal failing. That's a national condition. Now let's look at Priya. Same salary, same city, same age. But Priya did something Derek didn't. She kept her old life when the new money showed up. She stayed in her $1,150 apartment with the weird kitchen layout and the bathroom door that doesn't close all the way. She kept driving her 2019 Corolla that she owns outright. 87,000 miles and counting. She meal preps on Sundays, not because she saw it on TikTok, but because she genuinely hates spending 40 minutes deciding what to order on DoorDash. Her subscriptions total about $45 a month. She rotates streaming services and splits a family plan with her sister. Here's Priya's month. Rent, $350. Car insurance plus gas. No car payment because she owns the car, $280. Groceries, $340. Student loans, $320. Utilities, phone, internet, $310. Subscriptions, $45. Health insurance, $180. She spends about $2,025 a month. That leaves her just under $2,000 every single month. She's putting $800 into a Roth IRA, $600 into a high-yield savings account, and still has $500 left over for living her actual life. Dinners with friends, a weekend trip, new running shoes, a concert ticket, whatever she wants, guilt-free, same paycheck, same city. Wildly different financial realities. The difference isn't income, it's the gap between what you earn and what you've decided is normal. And this is trap number 2. I call it the absorption effect. Every time your income goes up, your life expands to fill it, like a goldfish growing to fit its tank. You never feel the stretch because it happens gradually, one upgraded subscription and one nicer restaurant at a time. Behavioral economists have a clinical name for this. They call it lifestyle inflation or hedonic adaptation, but I think absorption captures it better because it implies something passive. You didn't decide to be broke at $75K. Your expenses just quietly absorbed every new dollar before you could put it anywhere useful. And the data backs this up in a way that's almost uncomfortable. The Bureau of Labor Statistics found that for every additional dollar of after-tax income, American consumers spend roughly 85 to 90 cents of it. You don't save the raise, you metabolize it. Financial advisors report that most clients fully absorb a raise within 90 days, 3 months, and the extra money is gone, redistributed into slightly better versions of the same life. A 2024 NerdWallet survey found that 74% of Americans say their spending goes up every time their income goes up, and 61% couldn't even tell you where the extra money went. It just vanished, absorbed, like it was never there. And here's the part that should make the hair on your neck stand up. This isn't just happening to people making $75K. The PYNs and Lending Club Paycheck to Paycheck report found that roughly 55% of people earning between $50,000 and $100,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. 55%. And even among people earning over $100K a year, six figures, 40% still report living paycheck to paycheck. This trap scales. It follows you up the ladder like a shadow. If you don't learn to see it at 75K, you won't see it at 125K either. You'll just have nicer furniture in the same cage. The number on your paycheck isn't the problem. The system running underneath it is. Which brings us to trap number 3. And I need you to really sit with this one because it's the sneakiest of all of them. I call it the invisible toll booth. These are the recurring charges, micro-subscriptions, and automated payments that bleed you out so slowly you don't even feel it happening. It's financial death by 1,000 cuts, and every single one of them was designed to be painless. The average American now spends $273 a month on subscriptions alone. That's not rent, that's not a car payment, that's Netflix, Spotify, YouTube Premium, the gym you haven't been to since February, the meditation app you used twice before you forgot the password, the cloud storage upgrade you don't remember agreeing to, Amazon Prime, the meal kit that keeps shipping even though you swore you canceled it 3 months ago. That's $3,276 a year. Gone. Automatically. Silently. And here's the kicker. 42% of Americans admit they're currently paying for at least one subscription they've completely forgotten about. Money leaving your account on autopilot for a service you couldn't name if someone put a gun to your head right now. Go ahead. Open your bank statement. I'll wait. Count the recurring charges. I guarantee the number is higher than you think. The average person has gone from 6 subscriptions in 2019 to over 12 today. It doubled in 5 years and you barely noticed. That's not an accident. That's by design. Every company on the planet figured out that if they can get you to say yes once and then forget, they've got you forever. The toll booth is invisible, and you're driving through it every single month paying a toll you stopped consenting to years ago. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. John, this isn't news. I know subscriptions add up. I know I overspend sometimes. Just tell me what to do. Fair enough. But I had to walk you through the mechanics first because trap number 4 only works if you don't understand the first 3. Trap number 4 is the comparison machine, and it's the one that makes all the other traps feel justified. It's the one that whispers, you deserve this, right before you tap your credit card. Here's what I mean. A 2024 Bankrate survey found that 48% of Americans said social media has caused them to spend more than they normally would. Among millennials, that number jumps to 64%. And it's not because you're seeing ads, it's because you're seeing your friend Sarah's kitchen renovation, your coworker's new Audi, your college roommate's Cabo vacation, and your brain is doing the math in real time. They make about what I make. If they can afford that, I should be able to afford that. What am I doing wrong? But you don't see Sarah's $14,000 credit card balance funding that kitchen. You don't see the Audi that's on a 7-year loan at 24% interest. You don't see that the Cabo trip went on a buy now, pay later plan that'll take 8 months to pay off. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, and then you're adjusting your spending to match a lifestyle that doesn't actually exist. It's a performance. And you're buying tickets to a show that's bankrupting the actors. Federal Reserve research actually found that when your neighbor buys a new car, the probability that you'll buy a new car within the next 6 months goes up by 7 percentage points. You don't even have to want a car. Proximity to someone else's purchase literally rewires your purchasing behavior at a subconscious level. The comparison machine doesn't just make you want more, it makes you feel like less. And when you feel like less, you spend to feel like more. That's the cycle. That's the trap. And social media turned a neighborhood phenomenon into a 24/7 global broadcast of other people's curated abundance. Now here's trap number 5. And this is the one that's structural. The one you can't just mindset your way out of. I call it the squeeze. And it's the reason 75Kers in 2026 doesn't buy what 75K bought in 2000. At 75K, after taxes, you're working with about $57,000 a year in actual spendable money. The median rent in America is now roughly $1,900 a month. Just rent. Not mortgage, not property tax, not a house. An apartment. That one line item is already $2,800 a year, which is 40% of your take-home pay. The old financial rule was that housing should be 30% of your gross income. At 75K, that's $1,875 a month. The national median rent has now officially passed that threshold. In other words, the average apartment in America is now unaffordable by the standard financial rule for someone earning 75K. Let that sink in. The median, not luxury, not downtown Manhattan. The median apartment in the median city for someone earning an above average salary, technically unaffordable. And if you're in a major city, It's not even close. A one-bedroom in New York runs $3,500. That's 56% of your gross income on rent alone. San Francisco, $3,200. Los Angeles, $2,600. Miami, $2,300. At $75K, those cities aren't just expensive. They're mathematically impossible without roommates, a partner's income, or debt. And that's just housing. Zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Since the year 2000, housing costs have risen roughly 150%. Healthcare costs have risen 250%. College tuition has risen 200%. And median wages, they've gone up about 55 to 60%. The three pillars that define a middle-class life, a roof over your head, a college degree, and the ability to see a doctor, have outpaced your paycheck by 2 to 4 times over. So when you feel poor at 75K, you're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic. You're experiencing a structural mismatch between what the economy pays you and what the economy charges you to exist. A 2024 Primerica survey found that 70% of middle-income households, that's people earning between 30K and 100K, describe themselves as struggling financially or just getting by. 70%. You're not alone in this. You're not the exception. You are the majority, and the system was not built to tell you that. All right, so now we know how the trap works. The phantom finish line, an outdated happiness number that sets you up for disappointment. The absorption effect, your lifestyle expanding to swallow every raise. The invisible toll booth, death by 1,000 forgotten subscriptions. The comparison machine, social media convincing you everyone else has it figured out. And the squeeze, 25 years of costs rising 2 to 4 times faster than your paycheck. 5 traps, all working together, all keeping you running in place on a treadmill that was never going to take you anywhere. Now let's talk about how to step off. And I want to go back to Priya for a second because she didn't do anything flashy. She didn't read 100 finance books or build a spreadsheet with 47 tabs. She didn't start a podcast about money or go on some extreme no-spend challenge. She did 5 things, and none of them required earning a single dollar more. First, she committed to a gap, not a budget. A gap. There's a difference. A budget tells you how to spend your money. A gap tells you how much of it to keep before you spend any of it. She decided that no matter what, there would always be a gap between what she earns and what she spends, and that gap would be non-negotiable. When the raise came, the gap got bigger, not smaller. She treats the gap the way most people treat rent. It gets paid first, no discussion, no exceptions. The raise didn't change her lifestyle, it changed her future. Second, she ran an expense audit, not once, not annually, but monthly for 3 straight months. She went line by line through every single charge on her bank and credit card statements and asked one question. Would I buy this again today if I didn't already have it? Not, do I use this? Not, is this nice to have? But, would I actively choose to start paying for this right now? If the answer was no, she canceled it that same day. That single exercise saved her $340 a month. That's over $4,000 a year she was bleeding out on things she didn't even want anymore. $4,000 just sitting there, waiting for someone to notice it was leaving. Third, and this is the one that actually changed her trajectory, she automated the right behaviors. Her Roth IRA contribution pulls automatically 2 days after payday. Her high-yield savings transfer happens the same day. By the time she opens her banking app on Wednesday, the money is already gone, but gone to the right places. She can't absorb what she can't see. Automation doesn't rely on willpower. It doesn't care if you're tired or stressed or had a bad day. It just runs, and it removes the most dangerous moment in personal finance. That split second between seeing available money and deciding what to do with it. Fourth, she installed what I call a 72-hour firewall on any non-essential purchase over $50. She sees something she wants, she screenshots it, and she waits 3 days. If she still wants it on day 4, she buys it. No guilt. But roughly 70% of the time, she forgets it even existed. That impulse, that dopamine spike of, I need this right now, it fades. It always fades. The firewall doesn't stop her from buying things. It stops her from buying things she doesn't actually want. And fifth, she unfollowed the noise. She muted the Instagram accounts that made her feel behind. She stopped watching day-in-my-life content from people whose lives were funded by credit cards and brand deals. She didn't become a monk. She just stopped voluntarily feeding the comparison machine. And within 3 months, she told me something I found genuinely profound. She said, I stopped wanting things I'd never actually needed. I just didn't realize the wanting was being manufactured. And here's the math that makes all of this real. That $800 a month Priya is putting into her Roth IRA. If she keeps that up from age 29 to 65, 36 years, at a 7% inflation-adjusted return, that grows to roughly $1.3 million in today's dollars. She didn't need to earn $200K. She didn't need a side hustle or a stock tip or the right crypto coin at the right moment. She needed to protect the gap between her income and her lifestyle, and then let compound interest do the heavy lifting. That's it. That's the whole game. Protect the gap, automate the gap, and let time turn discipline into wealth. So let me bring this full circle. If you make 75 Ks and you feel broke, you're not failing. You're not lazy. You're not bad with money. You're responding rationally to an irrational system, a system that handed you an outdated happiness benchmark, taxed away 23% of your salary before you touched it, surrounded you with people performing a lifestyle they can't afford, automated a dozen invisible charges you forgot you were paying, and then inflated the cost of every basic human need 2 to 4 times faster than your paycheck. The trap isn't the salary. The trap is believing the salary was ever supposed to be enough without a plan for what happens after it arrives. Derek and Priya make the same money. They live in the same city. One of them feels broke every single month. The other one is quietly building generational wealth. The only difference is that Priya saw the trap before she walked into it. Derek is still inside it, and he doesn't even know the walls are there. Be honest with yourself for a second. Which one are you right now? And more importantly, which one do you want to be 6 months from now? Because the answer to that question isn't more income. It's more intention. It's not about earning more. It's about keeping more of what you already earn. Pick one thing from this video: the expense audit, the automated savings, the gap commitment, the 72-hour firewall, the comparison cleanse, and do it before you go to bed tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight. Because the trap resets every single morning, and the only way to beat it is to stop walking through it on autopilot. If you're still here, thank you. Seriously. If this video helped you see something differently, drop a comment and tell me, what's the one expense you realized you've been absorbing without even noticing? I read every single one, and some of your answers genuinely blow my mind. And if you want to keep going, I made a video about exactly what happens when you finally cross that first $100,000 saved, how the math changes, how banks and institutions suddenly treat you differently, how the whole game shifts in your favor. Click the video on screen. I'll see you there.